Hi, welcome. In this video, I'd like to discuss the issue of stress and the stress that comes on to a dog owner as a result of a relationship problem with their dog. And this is the thing with understand about behavioral issues, especially getting the issue about housebreaking and dogs that are starting to mess inside the house and then even inside the crate. You're getting these levels of these behavioral issues, which can be extremely frustrating for dog owners to a point of giving up, of absolutely just giving up on the dog and just saying, you know what, I can't take this anymore. Dealing with all sorts of other family issues, and this is just an extra issue. I thought this was going to be great, getting a new dog to come into the home, and this is just a tremendous problem. And then beyond that, trying other options in terms of trying to use treats, trying to investing time and money into certain training systems. Again, understand, I talk about this. I talk through the problem by way of this very popular idea of training as a learning-based exercise, motivating dogs to respond, and again, still dealing with tremendous problems, just not going away. Now, here's the thing to understand. I get this thing about a process, just like it's no different than parenting in terms of dealing with a relationship problem with an already selfish child. So understand that's exactly what you're dealing with. Dogs start to gain control, and housebreaking is an express state. This is why dogs will go take the dog outside of the bathroom, come back in, and they go again. And you're like, what is going on here? Is it a bladder issue? Is it, I don't understand. No, it's control. Okay, understand. This is why it becomes very confusing. So it's about how the dog perceives you that way. So my encouragement to people is to understand that there is hope. Okay, there's a way out, a way that you don't have to give up on your dog, but it comes to aligning yourself with a process that is going to truly change how the dog perceives you that way. The dog starts to release control, and then therefore the dog is going to start to go to the outside. It's going to start to do what you want the dog to do. And so again, I encourage you to really think about that. This system of training advocates differently. It's an interaction-based system, and it's no different than considering I talk about the superficial nature of a process. Okay, this idea of just getting dogs to respond and then assuming things that aren't true. This system of training is about depth. Okay, it's about investing the right way, and so it's no different than an already selfish child with a parent that is interacting with. Okay, so when I use the word, this is an interaction-based system, understand it follows the same. It parallels almost exactly the same way. Is in terms of advocating, being a parent, investing in, interacting with your child in ways that the child comes into agreement with. Okay, so the agreeableness part of that. So it's about the whole methodology here is not about being over the top. Okay, understand that this kind of type of contrast, when you see this going on, this very popular idea about training using treats and using motivators, and then what happens is, because it's so much about making people feel a certain way, and you get the pet all over the dog that way, assuming certain things that aren't true, what happens is then when you talk different, understand, when you talk different, when you say, okay, here's a process that advocates the right way, then people have a tendency to look at that and say, well, it must mean this. It must mean that you're doing things that are over the top, or doing things that are abusive to the dog. That's absolutely not true. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of confusion in the dog training world. You get this thing about even what I call what's called balance training. You get these type of optics where people are interacting with dogs that are over the top, because what's happening is they're invested in a superficial system. At the same time, they're trying to work out the role of influence, and it just doesn't line up. Okay, and then it's a mess. This system of training, okay, reconciles all of that. Understand, it's about, because it's interaction based. Okay, it's not, it doesn't work within the framework that way, with that type of thing, with that type of confusing narrative. This system of training lines things up. So all to say that is that because it lines things up in a very specific way, okay, the dog is agreeable to it. It reconciles everything, it lines things up properly, and then in terms of the issue about stress on the human, okay, it's going to de-stress the dog owner very quickly, because the dog is going to start to change how they think very quickly. Issues such as housebreaking are going to go away very fast, because this system of training provides a clear path to change. Understand there's no roadblocks or barriers. There's no assumptions that are being made. You don't have to use the word feel like you're blindsided or things aren't. There's a disconnect. You hear all these different words being used to describe a process that, you know, advocates a certain way. This system of training is different in a good way. So again, I encourage anyone looking for answers, check out my website. I have lots of great information. I talk through the problem with a superficial process by way of, you know, people call themselves balance trainers and force-free trainers. But here's the thing, is I don't just talk about the problem that way. I say, here's the solution. Okay, here's a process that lines up in a very specific way that engages the relationship with your dog in terms of a type of intervention the right way, and it makes sense. When I sit down and talk to people and line this stuff up, it just makes sense. So, and you'll see change happening right before your eyes and very quickly. So again, if you have questions, contact me. I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thanks for watching.